Michael Jordan's story is often told as a highlight reel of gravity-defying moves, championship parades, and cultural dominance. But beneath that surface lies a far more human narrative. It is a life shaped by rejection, sharpened by loss, and driven by a competitive fire that refused to be extinguished. He did not begin as a symbol of inevitability. He began as a boy who had to earn every inch of belief in himself. The mythology that surrounds him today as the greatest basketball player in history is built on years of obscurity, doubt, and emotional struggle that tested his identity long before fame arrived. What makes Jordan's journey compelling is not just what he achieved, but what he endured while achieving it. Every stage of his life appears to carry a turning point where pain became fuel. From early family dynamics in North Carolina to the heartbreak of personal loss, his path reflects how greatness is often shaped in environments where comfort is absent. His story is not simply about basketball dominance, but about the psychological evolution of someone who turned rejection into purpose and pressure into performance at the highest level imaginable. Childhood in Wilmington and the foundation of discipline. Michael Jordan was born in Wilmington, North Carolina, into a household defined by hard work and structure rather than privilege. His father, James Jordan, worked long hours as a mechanic and supervisor, while his mother, Dolores, maintained stability through banking work and strict expectations around education and discipline. Life was not extravagant, but it was grounded in values that emphasized responsibility, respect, and persistence. These early lessons formed the backbone of Jordan's mentality long before he ever touched a professional basketball court. The Jordan household was emotionally rich but demanding. Success was not assumed, it was earned. Michael grew up observing his parents' sacrifices, understanding that nothing came easily. His father, in particular, played a crucial role in shaping his competitive instincts, often challenging him to improve and pushing him to embrace discomfort rather than avoid it. These moments were not framed as motivational speeches, but as everyday expectations. That environment instilled in him a mindset where effort mattered as much as talent, and where failure was not final but instructional. Brotherly rivalry and the early seeds of competition. One of the most influential relationships in Jordan's childhood was with his older brother, Larry. In nearly every informal competition, whether basketball, running, or backyard games, Larry often came out ahead. This dynamic created a quiet but powerful internal pressure within Michael. He was not naturally the best in his immediate circle, and that reality shaped how he viewed improvement. Rather than being discouraged, he began to study the idea of surpassing those who were already ahead of him. This sibling rivalry was not hostile but formative. It introduced Jordan to the emotional discomfort of losing repeatedly to someone he respected. At the same time, it fueled a determination to close the gap through repetition and effort. His father reinforced this mindset by encouraging resilience and consistency, teaching him that dominance is not given but built. In retrospect, these early experiences created the psychological foundation for the relentless competitor he would become, someone who could not accept stagnation and who measured progress through constant self-challenge. The high school rejection that redefined his identity. At 15 years old, Jordan experienced a moment that would later become legendary in shaping his mindset. When he tried out for the varsity basketball team at Emsley A. Laney High School, he was cut. The decision was based on size, physical maturity, and perceived readiness, but to Jordan, it felt like a public declaration of inadequacy. Seeing his name missing from the list was not just disappointing, it was deeply humiliating. That rejection became a turning point rather than an end point. Instead of withdrawing, he internalized the experience as motivation. He committed himself to training with a level of intensity that surpassed his peers. Early mornings, repeated drills, and long hours of solitary practice became routine. The emotional weight of that moment transformed into a driving force that shaped his identity. It was here that the psychological pattern of turning pain into performance began to fully take root, setting the stage for his future rise. North Carolina and the shot that changed everything. Jordan's development at the University of North Carolina under coach Dean Smith refined his raw talent into structured excellence. He entered the program as a promising but unpolished freshman, learning systems that demanded discipline, teamwork, and patience. Unlike high school, where individual talent could dominate, college basketball required adaptation. Jordan responded by evolving his game, becoming more efficient and controlled while still maintaining his natural explosiveness. The defining moment came in the 1982 NCAA championship game. With seconds remaining against Georgetown, Jordan received the ball and took a decisive shot from the wing. The ball went through the net cleanly, securing the championship for North Carolina. That moment was not just a victory, it was symbolic closure for years of doubt and development. It represented the transition from overlooked teenager to emerging national figure, and it foreshadowed the competitive poise that would define his professional career. The NBA arrival and the birth of a global icon. When Jordan entered the NBA in 1984 as a draft pick for the Chicago Bulls, he immediately transformed the energy of the franchise. The team had struggled for identity and success, but Jordan brought a level of excitement that shifted expectations overnight. His rookie season showcased extraordinary scoring ability, athletic creativity, and a confidence that defied his experience level. Simultaneously, his partnership with Nike led to the creation of the Air Jordan line, which quickly became more than a sports product. Even when league restrictions attempted to limit his shoes, the controversy amplified their cultural significance. Jordan was no longer just an athlete, he was becoming a brand, a symbol of aspiration, and a new form of global sports celebrity. However, early success did not immediately translate into championships, as physical playoff battles tested both his endurance and leadership. Rivalries, physicality, and the first championship breakthrough. The Detroit Pistons became the defining obstacle of Jordan's early career, implementing a defensive strategy designed specifically to contain him through physical pressure and constant contact. These matchups tested his resilience and forced him to evolve beyond scoring into leadership. The repeated playoff losses created frustration, but also refinement, pushing him to elevate both his strength and mental discipline. Eventually, persistence paid off. In 1991, Jordan led the Chicago Bulls to their first NBA championship by defeating the Los Angeles Lakers. That victory marked the beginning of a dynasty, followed by consecutive titles that established the Bulls as the dominant team of the era. These achievements transformed Jordan from superstar to global icon, with influence extending far beyond sports into culture, media, and commerce. Dynasty, fame, and the weight of perfection. The Bulls' 3 consecutive championships created an unprecedented level of global attention. Jordan became one of the most recognizable figures in the world, with endorsements, media appearances, and cultural influence reaching extraordinary levels. However, with success came increasing pressure. The expectation to maintain perfection became an invisible burden. Despite his achievements, the physical and emotional toll of competition accumulated. Long seasons, relentless training, and constant public scrutiny created exhaustion beneath the surface of dominance. Even as he continued to win, the demands of maintaining greatness grew heavier. The image of invincibility masked a reality where recovery, privacy, and normal life became increasingly rare. Loss of his father and the first departure from basketball in 1993, tragedy struck when Jordan's father, James Jordan, was murdered during a robbery. This loss profoundly altered his emotional world. His father had been his closest supporter and grounding presence, and the absence left a void that success could not fill. The grief was immediate and overwhelming, affecting his perspective on life and basketball. Later that year, Jordan made the shocking decision to retire from the NBA at the peak of his career. While publicly framed as a completion of goals, the deeper reality was emotional exhaustion and grief. He briefly pursued baseball, a sport his father loved, as a way of processing loss and stepping away from the intensity of basketball. This period reflected a search for identity beyond the game that had defined him, the competitive mind that never rested. Even after achieving everything basketball had to offer, Michael Jordan's defining trait remained unchanged, an unrelenting competitive instinct that did not switch off with trophies. Whether it was practice, business negotiations, golf games, or casual challenges with teammates, he approached every situation with the same internal demand to win. This mindset was not situational, it was structural. It shaped how he interpreted every interaction, turning even light-hearted moments into silent competitions. What made this mentality so powerful was its consistency over decades. Many athletes lose intensity after reaching peak success, but Jordan's drive appeared to intensify with achievement. Championships did not satisfy him permanently, they reset his expectations. Each victory became a standard he felt compelled to defend, rather than a finish line. This psychological loop, win, reset, pursue again, defined the rhythm of his career and his identity. Even in retirement, traces of this mindset persisted. In business, ownership decisions, and personal challenges, he carried the same refusal to accept mediocrity. It became clear that Jordan's greatness was not limited to physical ability, but rooted in a mental framework that continuously demanded more, regardless of external validation or past accomplishment. The enduring myth and the man behind the legend. Over time, Michael Jordan evolved from a historical athlete into a cultural myth, a reference point for excellence across generations. His name became shorthand for perfection in sports debates, leadership discussions, and even business metaphors. This transformation into symbolism often overshadowed the human being behind it. The public image emphasized dominance, clutch performance, and invincibility, while the quieter dimensions of his life remained less visible. Yet beneath the mythology exists a man shaped by deeply human experiences, loss, pressure, insecurity, and constant expectation. His journey reflects not only triumph but also the emotional cost of sustained greatness. The same qualities that elevated him, intensity, obsession, and refusal to fail, also demanded sacrifices in peace, privacy, and simplicity. As time passes, the legend continues to grow, often detached from the complexities that created it. However, understanding Jordan fully requires holding both realities together: the icon who redefined basketball and the individual who carried personal grief and relentless internal pressure. His legacy endures not because it is simple, but because it is layered, contradictory, and profoundly human beneath its extraordinary surface. Return, Second Dynasty, and New Shadows of Loss. Jordan eventually returned to the NBA, reigniting his competitive drive and leading the Bulls to another 3 consecutive championships. This second dynasty reinforced his legacy as one of the most dominant athletes in history. His ability to return after absence and still perform at the highest level added another layer to his legend. However, even during this resurgence, emotional shadows persisted. The passing of Kobe Bryant in 2020 deeply affected him, as Bryant had long considered Jordan a mentor and inspiration. Jordan's public grief revealed the emotional continuity of loss throughout his life, reinforcing the idea that even greatness does not shield one from human vulnerability. Later life, wealth, and the meaning beyond greatness. In later years, Jordan's life transitioned from athletic dominance to business success, philanthropy, and family focus. His financial empire expanded significantly through branding and investments, making him one of the wealthiest athletes in history. Yet his lifestyle also reflected a shift toward privacy, reflection, and personal connection, rather than constant public presence. His philanthropic efforts, particularly in education and community support, demonstrate a broader understanding of legacy beyond sports. While his competitive identity remains central to how he is remembered, his later years suggest a quieter interpretation of success, one grounded in impact rather than performance. Ultimately, Jordan's life represents a complete arc from rejection to global recognition, from personal loss to enduring legacy, shaped by the same force that defined him from the beginning: relentless will.